Today, I want to talk about a little movie called Bloodsport.
By international martial arts sensation Jean Claude Van Damme in Bloodsport, the true story of the ultimate champion.
The 1988 martial arts action movie starring Jean Claude Van Damme. This was a pretty influential movie back in the day because it popularized martial arts movies in the West, and it also kickstarted Jean Claude Van Damme's career as an action star. Jean Claude Van Damme is a Belgian martial artist and a very big action star throughout the 90s, up there with the likes of Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, Chuck Norris, you name it. And he had starring roles in several films such as Kickboxer, Lionheart, Hard Target. And even though he has fallen in cult status in recent years, and while even his most popular movies are not as revered as his contemporaries, and he has unfortunately not earned the admiration of action legend himself, Steven Seagal.
Thoughts on Jean Claude Van Damme?
Can I laugh in your face? Do I think Jean Claude's a tough guy in martial arts? No.
He's the kind of action star who's enjoyable to watch regardless of the quality of the movie. And the movie that kickstarted it all is the one we'll be talking about today, Bloodsport, where Jean Claude plays the US Army Captain Frank Dukes, who is an actual real-life martial artist. In fact, this movie is supposed to be based off of his achievements, which turned out to just be fake. While the movie says that it's based off of a true story, it's really not. It's kind of similar to the Ip Man series with Donnie Yen, where even though the movie is based off of a real person, the actual events are just kind of fictionalized, so it's not entirely real. So the movie kicks off with Frank abandoning his post to visit an old martial arts master of his. And once he walks into the house, he notices a sword sitting on a table, and he starts to have some Vietnam flashbacks. And then we cut to a young Frankie and his pals sneaking into the guy's living room to steal a sword, because I guess that's what kids did back in the day. But then they hear someone coming, so all the friends leave, and Frank is just left there admiring the sword, only to be kicked by a little Japanese boy. And here we have Mr. Tanaka. While he's lecturing Frank, he starts to see a little bit of potential in him. It's then when Mr. Tanaka decides to mentor this young Adam Sandler with ADR so bad, it sounds like he's about to ask me when my violin concert is.
How come you coach him but not me? If you expect me to be punching bad, you can forget about our deal.
You are great. When is your violin concert?
And then the little Japanese boy starts getting beaten up by some bullies.
Someday, I'll fight in the Kumite and make my father proud.
Frank asks to study under Tanaka, and now we begin the training montage. Hold on. I think I've seen this one before. And then after the trials and tribulations, Frank is able to serve tea blindfolded. But before we head off, let's say a little goodbye to the man who made this all possible. Shit, I think he died. So, Frank sets off to the main attraction of the movie, the Kumite, an illegal fighting ring hosted in the shadows of Hong Kong. The rules are simple. Anyone who's knocked out, taps out, or thrown out, loses. Also, if you die, you lose, so as you can tell, this is no place for any Weenie Hut Juniors. This is for real men only. And Frank proves his worthiness by doing this shit.
Very good. But break, not hit back.
We'll probably never see him again, I bet. And of course, what good is a movie without a lovable cast of characters? One of the first characters that we're introduced to is Ray Jackson, who's not only probably the best character in the movie, but also one of the only somewhat important characters of the movie. Frank first meets him on the bus, and then after he proves himself as a gamer, they just immediately become like best friends. And most of their scenes are just kind of them sitting together and watching the fights, and then Jackson cracks a couple of jokes throughout the movie.
That hurts me just looking at it.
And it's kind of weird because it does feel like there is some chemistry between the two characters, but Donald Gibbs, the actor who plays Jackson, has gone on interviews saying that he disliked being in the movie, specifically because of Jean Claude Van Damme.
The problem with Bloodsport is that I had to deal with him, and we know who I'm talking about, right? He made things really, really uncomfortable for everybody. If he'd have been a great guy, it would have been wonderful. I mean, Jean Claude's lucky he didn't get hurt by me outside the ring, but that's beside the point.
So there is a bit of a weird disconnect. At least in the movie, he seems like a pretty chill guy.
For you.
Next we have Hallmore and Rollins. Don't ask me which one is which, I don't really remember. So they're agents tasked with retrieving Frank and bringing him back to the United States, and they serve as minor antagonists throughout the movie. They don't really show up that much, and when they do, they just kind of suck at their jobs. For example, when they finally catch up with Frank, Ray, being the absolute bro that he is, just fucking tackles them and Frank runs off. And then they start playing a little game of tag, and then they just fall in the water and fucking drown. And finally, we have Janice Kent, who's so forgettable that she's not even mentioned in the fucking Wikipedia article that I was looking at. She's a reporter who's trying to uncover the mystery of the Kumite, and she's just there to serve as the love interest and also a bit of conflict for the movie. When Frank meets her, she's being harassed by these fine gentlemen. And Frank decides to cool off the air by showing them a cool-ass magic trick.
Go. Ha! You lose, American asshole.
And because that trick was so fucking cool, Janice decides to go on a little playdate with Frank. And this movie does a pretty cool twist on the usual sex scene by, instead of showing the action, they just show you Jean Claude Van Damme's bare ass. And then when she finally gets into the fighting arena, it's mostly just like unnecessary reaction shots of her between the fights. She and the agents don't really contribute much to this story, really. But while those characters may be useless as a bag of rocks, we still have Ray being the absolute No! We did see him again! So now Ray's dying of cringe, this bitch is complaining about the fights, and now she's trying to ruin it for everybody by trying to get the Kumite canceled, just so Frank doesn't go back and try to get revenge for Ray. And this is the thing, I don't really understand why she feels so connected to him, because she's only known him for like 2 days. I would say even Ray has a more intimate connection with Frank than she does. I think if she had a bit more of a direct connection to the Kumite, like someone she cared about fought and died, and that's why she wants to uncover the truth about it, and then that would have made her concerns for Frank a bit more believable, but oh well. But all of that aside, nothing's gonna stop Frank from getting justice. So Frank starts to head his way to the Kumite, but not before being stopped by the 2 agents who have their grand master plan to stop. Frank is gonna have to go through hell and back if he wants to make it to that match. Let's go.
Okay, Frank, you win.
That's it? That was their grand plan to stop Frank? All he had to do was fight 2 goofy goobers and then block a taser with a trash can lid like a fucking Looney Tunes character? Anyway, here we are at the finals, and we watched the funniest joke in the entire movie happen.
Time's up. We can't wait any longer.
Come on, give me 1 more minute. I'll give you my word. He'll be here.
Too late.
Too late? No such things as too late. Finally.
So after fighting ruthless foes like Frenchie from The Boys, Asian Bob Belcher, and this dude, Frank finally has a chance to face up against the one and only Chong Li.
You are next.
But not before Chong Li just kills a guy. Which apparently didn't happen until now. Now it's time for the final showdown. And after a while of Chong Li getting the shit beaten out of him, he decides to play a little prank on Frank.
Welcome back to Cartel TikTok. Colombian's a great way to wake your stepmom up.
So now with visions of sugar plums dancing in Frank's head, Chong Li now has the upper hand. And then we spend the next few minutes watching Frank trip balls while getting his ass handed to him. But after starting to reflect on his past training, he starts to lock in. Then Frank finally saves the day, gives Ray a goodbye kiss, and goes home. So there we have it. Bloodsport. While it's not like the most thought-provoking movie, and I wouldn't even go to say it's the best action movie, I really enjoyed it. And it was a pretty influential movie. It was popularizing martial arts in Western movies. Jean Claude went out to star in a lot more action movies, one of them being Time Cop.
Jean Claude Van Damme.
Which is another movie that I want to talk about someday. And probably its biggest impact was serving as the main inspiration behind the video game series Mortal Kombat. In fact, Johnny Cage is essentially just like a parody of Jean Claude Van Damme. There we have it. Hopefully I get to talk about more movies and maybe even a bit of other topics. Make sure you stay tuned and maybe keep away from the Kumite.
Okay, USA. Okay, USA.